So I guess we're all good. Great. Okay, so I'm going to pass it to Gillian and Tom. Welcome and thanks for joining us.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thanks, Sarah. That's great. So yeah, I guess I'll jump right in. For those who don't know me, I'm Tom Sommerville, co-founder with Gillian of the AgileTO meetup group. I'm an Agile coach in the Toronto area. Right now, working for one of the banks. Had a number of different contracting gigs over the past few years as an Agile coach, and so that's been an interesting ride. You'll probably have seen on the meetup site a photograph of me and Gillian out at the Ride for Heart, which sadly, for obvious reasons, is not happening this year, but has for the past large number of years. And that photo really just speaks to the bonds that we've really found through starting and continuing with AgileTO. Gillian and I remain fast friends and collaborators, and that's been a big part of all of this. And I'm going to hand it over to Gillian to talk about some questions that we're going to be answering as we go through this talk.
All right. Thanks, Tom, for kicking us off. So I'm so glad to see you guys here. This is the first time we're sharing our story, and I hope you'll enjoy it. We're going to try to answer 4 questions. And me. I'm Gillian, and I work as the Director of Delivery Coaching at Newlogy, which is a small software development organization in the Toronto area. And I'm also a coach trainer, and I love organizing and participating in these events. So thank you, Shaheen, Arav, and others for helping organize this event today. There are 4 questions that we would like to answer. The first is, what motivated us to start AgileTO? Also, we will talk about our guiding values and who are all the awesome people that helped to make it happen, including some folks in this Zoom room. And finally, we'll close off with what we learned.
So yeah, I think speaking to the motivation, this goes back to Agile Coach Camp Canada, I guess coming up on 5 years ago, where Gillian and I met. And as always at Coach Camp, there's a lot of conversation interstitially between the events in the open space. And we really got to talking about the Agile situation in Toronto specifically and more broadly. And, you know, at the time we were familiar with some of the big conferences and events that were available to people in the community. So obviously Coach Camp, the Toronto Agile Conference, and the open space that happens once a year, Agile Alliance, and you know, Agile annual meetups or meetings, conferences all around the world. We found those very useful from our own perspective for professional development and so forth, but really wanted to think about how we could share that wealth, how we could expand the footprint of some of the learnings that we were enjoying to the community more broadly.
Yeah, and we really wanted to share some of the awesome content and connections with people that we were meeting at these events.
There's a real important aspect for me, and those who know me will know this, which is the social aspect and the networking, the opportunity just to talk to people and learn about them, and through that kind of get a better handle on you know, what they have to bring to the community, ways in which we can work together, and just kind of you know, again, create those bonds and relationships, and so you know, again, that was a big part of the motivation for us in starting up something a little different from the big conferences that that we'd been familiar with up to that point in time.
Yeah, because the thing that was happening was 1 year was just way too long to wait to see everyone and chat about those topics that are so important to us. So we aimed for more frequent and annual, and we started off with once every couple of months.
We wanted to really make it welcoming and accessible, and so really made it free, made it downtown, made it after work, so that whether it was people who were experienced Agilists already, or it was people who were kicking the tires, or PMs that wanted to learn more about Agile, aspiring Scrum Masters that might not feel comfortable going to a conference where most of the attendees already have experience in the space. And so, what we wanted to establish was something that did have that level of accessibility and, provide that opportunity for pretty much anybody to come out and to participate, to learn, and so that was kind of the thought process that emerged in our conversations at Coach Camp. And I guess the next step was me kind of going, what next? And at the time, Meetup was still, it was a going concern, but I just figured, okay, this is an opportunity. And so I signed up and set up an AgileTO Meetup account.
All right, and this is what it actually looked like. So for those of you who can see my screen, this is a glimpse into our first AgileTO event. And as you can see, there's this little kickoff. It was hosted at Wrangell. We had 83 people sign up for our very first event. And Tom and I were standing in this empty room looking at all these empty chairs thinking, oh my gosh, are these people actually going to show up? And in fact, they did. They came out. We had familiar faces. You can see here Artie there, and Mike, Patrick, and like tons of new people too. And like the whole room filled up. And we did a couple of things on the first day. We did 2 topics. We did some facilitation techniques, just simple like thought voting. And Tom did a quick talk on hands-on Scrum. And that was our very first event at Wrangell.
That was a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody who's on this call was there, but it kind of, for me at least, was an indication that we were on the right track, because we did get a bunch of people out and people had fun.
So I'll just stop there so then I can come back to all of you guys. Great. All right. So
I think that brings us, to the next question, which is who helped us make all of this happen?
All these awesome people. Hey, there's more of them here. Okay, so how many of you have heard of the AgileTO Facilitators Guild? Some of you? Yes, no? All right. Oh, I see Shaheen put up his hand because yes, you were part of the guild, and a few other folks here. And one thing that happened in the early days of AgileTO was that it grew really rapidly. At our first event, as I mentioned, we had 60 people come out, but soon after we had 80, and then 100, and then more than 100, and I was getting a little intimidated. And so we really rapidly realized that we wouldn't be able to scale the type of experience that we wanted, and to have everyone feel as in touch and as excited about the content as we were. So we thought, what do we need to do? And at the time, I was chatting with Damon Poole, who's my Agile co-conspirator. And he helped inspire the AgileTO Facilitators Guild because about a decade earlier, he had founded Agile Boston. And he shared many of his great meetup tips from the trenches that Tom and I could leverage as we were starting up AgileTO. So one of his tips was, hey, Gillian, why don't you ask for some volunteers? And I'm like, no, they're not going to show up. But I was pretty desperate. So I wrote an email, hey, have you facilitated in the past? Are you interested in learning new skills and practicing in our meetup? And I held my breath and I hit send. And I actually didn't have to wait too long because within an hour, I had a couple of people say, hey, I'd love to come out. And then we had like a dozen within a few more days. So in the early days, our facilitators and our volunteers were, I would say, like the heart of our meetup. You know, the week before each event, we would get together and we would play test the activity all together. And it was really great because it was a really safe environment. We felt comfortable, and it was definitely okay for things not to go smoothly. And this was really good because then when we did it for more than 100 people, it was a whole lot less scary. But one of the other really great things was that it encouraged others to take a bit more ownership, an active role in the event. And we found that folks would bring their friends out. So this became, for me and Tom, one of our very favorite parts of the event. So at the event, if you guys remember, we had these little butterfly stickers that you would put on your name tag, and that would identify you as a volunteer. And we ran a ton of activities, and I'm going to show you a picture from our volunteers. So let me just pop this open. And here we go. Okay. Can you guys see the screen? Yeah? All right, awesome. So here are our awesome volunteers. There's tons of people who are greeting people at the door. You see like the stickers on the table over there. One day we had a Lego shared visioning exercise, and so we had like 120 Lego people. And you notice here's Jeff and here's Shaheen, and they're working with some groups. I think this was from, looks like it's from Michigan Skills Matrix event talk. But the facilitators would work with each table and help answer their questions and help everyone just connect a little bit better with the content. So a big shout out to like all those folks who were a part of our early days in our Facilitators Guild. So one thing that I would have done in the past before Tom and I started the meetup is someone asked me like, hey, how can I help? I would go, I got it covered. You know, I'm fine. But now, like, I've totally taken a 180. So whenever I'm asked this question, is like, yes, please join me. And so I just I'm really grateful for everyone's passion, the time and the energy that they put in, and I just want to give a shout out to all the volunteers over the years. Yeah.
I'd second that. we couldn't have done it without you.
But that was only one piece of it. So I'm going to keep talking. We also had a number of awesome guest speakers. And, you know, as Tom mentioned in the early days, the event was free, and it still is. And so it was our speakers who were volunteering their time and materials. So if you guys can see here, we have a little bit of a collage of a few of the folks who came in and talked. There's Mike Edwards. He came in and talked about at our very second meetup. In fact, he thought he was coming to speak at Agile Ontario, and when we invited him, but I'm glad that he came out. And there's Declan, Ellen, talking about gains for conflict resolution, and down at the bottom there's like Todd doing some improv. So we had many contributors over the years come out and give their time.
I remember being so I guess just humbled in a way by the generosity of these very experienced people in our community who were so willing and in many cases eager to tailor the materials and the presentations to the format that we knew our community were looking for, and to put the time in and to get that prepared and then to come out and speak in front of the group with no compensation really beyond you know, a sense of giving back to the community, and it was really very gratifying, and as I said, humbling to see that and how many people were willing to help us in that way. It was such a crucial part of our early success and our ongoing success as a meetup group.
So you're probably wondering, how do we find all these people? Well, these characters were at events just like these. And they were at Agile and Beyond, and that they were at Play for Agile. And we found the content that really energized us, and then we invited them to come and join. So we did, however, have a small twist. So we invited our speakers to offer activities that the Facilitators Guild could help deliver. And so not only that, we asked them to, in the early days, to time box their presentations to 45 minutes so that we could offer a couple of topics. And it was just really such a nice surprise that people said yes. As you know, many of them are typically presenting 60 to 75 minutes in a longer conference style session. So thanks also to our awesome speakers for making AgileTO possible.
Definitely. I guess the last group that we wanted to call out was, well, you all, our community. We're, I think, extraordinarily fortunate in the GTA to have, you know, a really well-informed group. People are eager to participate. People extend invitations out to their own smaller communities. They bring their friends and colleagues, and we've had students come out, and really a very broad spectrum of different levels of experience, but everybody makes people welcome. So those who are experienced are more than happy to answer the most basic of questions from people who don't have experience if they're curious. And it's made for a very collegial, very friendly atmosphere at all of our events, which has been really, for me, a real validation that we're doing a lot of the right things, that we're in a good community, we're supporting that community, and the community in turn are giving back in terms of their contributions to the people that are coming in after them. And you know, for me, those post meetup social events have been a big part of it as well, where, you know, the somewhat more formal aspect of the presentations and the activities and so forth that obviously have a tremendous amount of value for me, and I hope for others who are part of our community. But those informal networking opportunities that come from the the conversations at the break and from the post meetup social events at the pub or wherever it is that particular time. Those have really underscored the value of it and the values that I think we all share as a community in the Agile space. So it's been a great experience that way.
So on the topic of guiding values, I would say that one of those was learn by doing. And so as you look at this collection of wonderful youth, you'll see us doing Agile work game, playing ballpoint, learning how to do lean coffee, learning how to write better user stories, all of the things.
I would extend that to another level as well, where we kind of applied that inspect and adapt model that we all are familiar with to the process of establishing and running AgileTO. And so we would try something, we would get feedback, and we would then adjust our course and learn from folks like Damon, as Gillian mentioned, who had experience running a meetup down in Massachusetts, and obviously from the community as well, getting specific feedback about what people liked or did not like about the way we had structured the meetups. We experimented, and through that wound up with a successful model that has clearly resonated with the community. Now we have, I think, 4,300 members in AgileTO.
So on to what did we learn?
Yeah, I think we've kind of alluded to some of these things as we've gone along, and I guess part of the reason that we wanted to share this presentation was by way of encouraging people to give back to the community as well. I know that most of you do, and obviously some folks are involved in running this particular meetup. But part of the message here is there's nothing particularly special about us. We met up at Coach Camp and had an idea and just started trying things out. And we didn't do it expecting to get anything back. We just ourselves wanted to give back and to create opportunities for people, and kind of seize the day. So that just do it attitude. We just jumped in and tried it out, and then course corrected as we learned. And Gillian talked about the Facilitators Guild and how valuable and exciting those Facilitators Guild sessions were, and the energy that came from people pitching in. I really, really encourage you to do that outreach, no matter what you might decide to do to strengthen the community. Bring people in, get things going with others, because that's where you get a lot of energy and a lot of new ideas.
And what I also learned is that your vision, it can really come to life, and just stick to it. And as Tom mentioned earlier, one of the amazing things has been the organizing team. I found that when you find people you love to work with, it's awesome. We ate, we socialized almost as much as we did organize the event. And it's been...
Gillian is a spectacularly good cook. It's, if you ever get the opportunity and she invites you over, take advantage.
Thanks, Tom. So it's overall, this has been just an immensely fun and rewarding journey. And I really, like Tom and I really wish you all so much joy and learning on yours.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Thanks a lot for sharing the story. Like, what an amazing idea is to share the photos. They are so live and they bring so much warmth. You're looking at them and thinking, oh my God, I know him. I want to say hi. Like, it's amazing how those pictures, how those photos can keep the energy for years, I guess. So thank you. This was really amazing. And so we're going to give the opportunity to everyone here to address your questions.
Sure. Can I go first? So two questions come to mind, Gillian and Tom. So one is, I'm new to Toronto, so, still new to all the meetups, but kind of wanted to understand from you guys as to what's next for this meetup, right? So we've been doing a lot of great work, a lot of great sessions, but where is this meetup headed next? Is it, different kind of topics? Is it maybe, more in-depth experiences? Just kind of wanted to understand that a bit. Sorry, my dog's playing in the background, so if you hear a ball.
That's an occupational hazard these days, and kind of leads into my answer to your question, which is that in the current circumstances, our current organizing core team, obviously the regular meetups in person are not an option, and we considered kind of continuing with that in a not so different format, but more and more we're recognizing that that longer format just does not work well in a virtual context. So we've had a couple of what we're calling quick talks. So night before last, I guess, was the second one. We had one a couple of weeks before that. I know Shaheen's going to be one of our speakers coming up. And essentially, we are enlisting some of the same folks who have contributed in the past, or others in the community who just have something to say, something to share, some interesting technique or idea that can be presented in a very short format. So our guidance is basically speak anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A for another like 15 to half an hour after that. So the whole thing is done between 30 minutes and 45 minutes. And so far it's been really well received. This week we had Mike Bowler talking about thinking hats, and it was a really good event. I got a lot out of it myself, and our feedback from the folks who joined, we had about 50 people. And so right now, that's our focus. We're going to run those every couple of weeks. They're on the meetup site. So if you're a member of AgileTO, you'll be able to join those. We're collaborating with Squirrel North, who have very generously offered their pro license for Zoom. So we can support up to 500 people. And I don't expect to get that many, but we don't have to cap the attendance the way that we have in the past. So I want to encourage anyone on this call to join us, and again, that's really where our focus is right now, is on that kind of adaptation to this remote working. And given the uncertainty about when things will go back to so-called normal, we just don't know at this point. We have some speakers that we had previously gotten organized to present at the regular meetups, but depending on when we can actually meet in person again, that'll dictate kind of what that schedule looks like. And you know what? We're talking already about continuing, even if things do go back to normal, with these virtual sessions, because they're very straightforward to organize, and they seem to offer quite a lot of value. And so it's something that we probably will continue in some form going forward as well.
Sure. Sure. Thank you for sharing that. Shorter sessions is definitely a trend, whether it's Netflix or whether it's outside that. So I definitely see the sound reasoning in that. Which brings me to my second question, which was, how could I maybe become a part of the Facilitators Guild or something similar? As I said, I'm new to Toronto. I've been quite involved in the local community out here in North Carolina, and I'd like to continue that effort in some shape or form in Canada as well.
So you've got a few different choices there. You can shoot me an email. If we connect on LinkedIn, then you'll have access to that if you don't find it somewhere else. You can drop a note on our meetup site, and somebody will get in touch, and we'll include you in the distribution list for the Facilitators Guild. If you're on one of the calls, any of the other organizers for AgileTO would also be able to hook you up with that. So any of those options should work.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Raj. Do we have any more questions? Who wants to go next?
Sure. Tom, can I ask a question? It's Chris. Are you thinking that you would totally replace the in-person meetings with online meetings, or were you thinking of having a mix?
Most likely a mix. I still believe that the format that has been our tried and true that Gillian described earlier offers a lot of value to the community, and so I don't see us not doing those. It's more that we don't know when we're going to be able to do that again, and in the meantime, we want to kind of hone our ability to deliver these virtual sessions and adjust that so that it offers maximum value. So that's it's kind of I think it's like everything else. It's kind of wait and see where we land after all of this current crisis has diminished, and with that uncertainty, we want to continue to get back, and so the virtual sessions are a focus. But yeah, it doesn't mean we'll abandon the in-person ones. I think there's still a real need for that.
I agree. Thanks very much.
No problem.
Hi. Do you have any tips for people who are starting meetup groups in smaller towns than Toronto?
That's an interesting question. I mean, in a way, I'm kind of making up my answer as I go along, because my experience has been, very much in Toronto, and I'm a city boy. I think one of the advantages that we've had is that we're drawing from this large collection of people in the city, and it gives us the sort of draw that we've had. In a smaller community, I mean, I guess one thing I would anticipate is that you'll have to broaden the offering so that you attract a broader cross-section of the community. There are only going to be so many Agilists in a smaller community, and I guess that'll depend on how small we're talking, and also the nature of the community. I guess part of it would be to consider locations that are accessible to a geographically broader region, so that there's opportunities for people in a bigger watershed, so to speak, to participate. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
I wonder if Noel, who's here on the call, he started a small an event in Mississauga, and might be able to offer some insights from like a smaller cosmopolitan. Oh.
Hey folks. Thanks for putting me on the spot there, Julie.
Noel's part of our AgileTO core team, and so this is what he gets.
Chris, just to give you some context, a few years ago, Nell started off Agile Dialogue Mississauga, right? So I guess when you talk about smaller communities, I thought maybe here's another voice that might be able to offer something.
Yeah. So it was me and one of my colleagues. We were working together in a company here in Mississauga, and we realized by talking to people in the larger community, like going to AgileTO or the other conferences, we soon found out that there are a lot of people who are not able to attend meetups like AgileTO or Lean Agile Network meetups, which was used to call Agile Lunch, because they have commitments to family, so they want to go back home, and so a lot of people lived in this Mississauga area, and so we thought, why not use that as an opportunity to start. So I guess even if you start talking to people, you'll realize if there's a need for a meetup, and we sensed that there was a need, and so that's why we started it. And it's been almost 2 years now, and we've seen that a lot of same people keep coming in. We've invited a lot of guest speakers. Gillian has been to that meetup in the past, and so yeah, it's that would be the insight that I'd like to share.
Thank you.
Can I share something if you guys don't mind?
Sure.
So starting this meetup, although it was in Toronto, like I remember the third time that we tried this meetup, as Noel said, it was called Agile Lunch. It was only me and one of my friends that I dragged from work and another person that joined. So it was only 3 people. So we went from like 20 people to 3 people, but I persisted in continuing this, and now we are around 1,800. One other story that I can tell you, I'm from Vancouver, and Vancouver compared to Toronto is a smaller community. I see that I was there, I was trying to, with some folks, starting a lean coffee there. I remember at one of the sessions, I was the only person at the coffee shop putting up the signs, no one joined, and then I was quitting. But other people keep persisting at that, and now they have been growing a lot. So a persistence might be a good idea. Don't be disappointed soon.
Mm-hmm. The one other thing I would add is find some like-minded co-conspirators. Find a core team of people that you're going to work with and that you enjoy being with, and then schedule some regular times to get together, even if it's just to have a drink together or go out for a meal, whatever it might be. And then if you're having fun, then you can organize it. And then even if nobody else ever shows up, at least you've had that opportunity to network with those people and to enjoy their company. And that if other people are invited to those regularly scheduled activities, you have a bigger incentive to go than if it's just you on your own. And you'll just expand that reach. You'll have more ideas. You'll have a broader network of people in that community that you're building in, and that I think can really stand you in good stead.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? I do. I'm keeping mine at the last. Who wants to go next?
Can ask one question. So what is a horror story that you can tell us about AgileTO?
Okay, you took one. No, I have only one.
Ooh. Well, I don't know. This is a tricky one. I think we expanded our core team at one point to just in a kind of an uncontrolled way, I guess, and wound up kind of blowing it up, and so I guess you know, it was one of those situations where you want to be judicious about, you know, well, yeah, you want to have that that opportunity to network with a small group of people who are helping you to organize a thing. You got to be judicious about who you include in that, and make sure that people are on the same page.
Also, I think it can be really easy to get too much on your plate, like just to have too much work in progress, and so like that's where the Facilitators Guild helped out. But also like yeah.
Thank you. I guess I'm gonna go ahead with mine.
I guess
about the challenge.
I guess Mara has her hand up.
I'm
so
sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, Mara.
Hi.
The pyramids didn't let me see your hand.
My internet is bad. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Just a question. I've been on and off because it keeps kicking me out, so I'm sorry if I missed this. What about, how did you find the sponsors? Like I know the venue sponsors. I know, Gillian, you worked at Wrangle for the first ones I attended, but then you guys had to switch around for a while. So how, can you tell us a story about how easy or difficult was it to find those locations?
I can speak to how I'll start off with the Wrangle story, because that one was a very fortunate event. So at the time, Wrangle was a consulting agency, as you know, and part of their strategy was to host meetups to grow communities. It brought people to the office, it got the name out, and we were very fortunate to have Wrangle offer us that beautiful space that you saw, plus beer and pizza for our events. And it just so happened that around that time too, I had joined Wrangle and they were looking for an Agile meetup. So it was you know, there's a bit of serendipity here. But even today, like Wrangle is still a sponsor. And so I'm gonna hand it off now to Tom to continue the story.
I mean, the gap that that you alluded to, where we were in different venues between Wrangles. I mean, basically, they had renovation that they did, and you know, they moved at one point, and they had the renovation, and so we did not have access to their venue for a period of time. That kind of goes back to Shaheen's question about horror stories. You know, having Wrangle as a venue sponsor, and to Gillian's point, providing us with beverages and food for our community has been such a gift. They also do the AV. They provide, you know, a contractor who handles all of the nitty-gritty technological pieces for doing the webcast and recording the event, and the managing the mics during the event. All that kind of stuff is looked after. And when we did not have that space and those amenities, it consumed an enormous amount of additional time and effort and energy to organize those places. I mean, you don't even think about things like, oh yeah, we'll use WeWork. And then we find out at fairly late in the day, oh, they don't actually have any chairs. And so suddenly you've got to source rental for chairs and go through all the logistical considerations about loading docks at the building and all this kind of thing. And those details, just, it's a huge amount of work. And so, you know, honestly, you know, moving from venue to venue created a lot of complications, and in some cases a less than ideal experience. I mean, we were hosted by EY at one point. Beautiful venue, top of their building downtown. It was spectacular, and the folks that were in the room had a good experience. I think it was Jeff Anderson who spoke at that particular event, but the space was too small for the community, and so a bunch of people wound up kind of outside the room and just kind of drifted off and were talking amongst themselves, and that's fine from a networking perspective. But it excluded some people that we would prefer to have had the opportunity to participate in the activities and so forth. And so, you know, I mean, it's just one of those things. And there were a lot of things like that when we were kind of in that wilderness of wandering around trying to find separate venues. So if Wrangle ever tell us that they can't host us anymore, job one will be to find an equivalent sponsor who is willing to invest in the community and provide us with the space. And there are only so many enterprises that have that kind of space and a need to reach out to the community. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, so as a parallel for Agile Boston, which is about our size as well, they have constant contact. So they have a persistent menu, minus the beer and pizza.
Yeah. Hey, if we had a venue and had to spring for beer and pizza, I think we could probably manage that.
Thank you. Who wants to go next? Does anyone else?
What is the budget for beer and pizza for an average meeting?
I gather it's on the order of about $800.
Wrangle is very kind.
Yes, they are. Because the beer and pizza is just part of it. They also pay the AV guy to be there for the entire time, and plus on before and after. So that's a bill that they also cover. And he's, I guess more recently, the folks that they bring in are very, very good at what they do and highly professional. And my guess is that they command a fair bit in terms of an hourly rate. And again, you know, if we had to organize all that stuff, it'd be taxing on the core team and our volunteers to arrange all that stuff logistically.
And what's the average attendance for your meetings?
It's 100 people plus or minus about 15 to 20. So anywhere from like 85 to 90 at the low end, up to about 120. I think the biggest we ever had was around 140. I don't think we've hit 150, but it's in that.
Wait. What about the mega meetup that happened in the?
Oh, okay. The one at the Madison, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was huge. But I mean, that was a collaboration with PMI. And so, you know, figuring out who was there on behalf of AgileTO versus PMI, I don't know. I mean, that was a lot of people, though. That must have been, I don't know, maybe close to 300 people. That was a lot. That was fun.
Thank you. Okay. I guess I'm gonna go next. So I actually wanted to ask, what did this community change for you?
Oh. Everything. I am a coach because of this community.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in a way I kind of echo that sentiment. I think it's opened a lot of doors for me, both professionally, but also just in terms of that network of people that I consider to be friends and, you know, part of my my extended network of contacts that I can reach out to if I you know, have a need to get questions answered or you know, particular areas of expertise and so forth that I now have available to tap into. It's orders of magnitude higher than it would have been without AgileTO. And so yeah, it's been very, very rewarding for me in a whole bunch of different ways.
Including Ride for Heart partners, writing partners.
That's right.
True. That's great. Thank you. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, I guess we're good to go to our networking session. Like just stay and network a little bit. But before we do that, I really wanted to share a link with you. If you're interested in what's happening in the virtual Agile world, put together in one place. Kudos to Shaheen for putting together all this awesome stuff. You can go to virtualagilecommunity.com website, and I guess feel free to add events if you don't see one there. Shaheen, I think people can add theirs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
So we typically we're announcing like the other meetups at the end of or at the start of our meetup. So this is a way for you guys to check out other meetups that's happening as well.
Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at all the stuff going on. It's great.
It is great. There's so much going on. Yes. And it's really nice to see it in one place, like organized.
Yep. Usually I have to like bounce through all my, different meetup groups. And as soon as Shaheen posted that on LinkedIn, I was like, lifesaver. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay. It's before we go with the networking, if anyone wants to share, first of all, thanks for the reactions that you were posting. It's really nice to see those. And if anyone wants to share any feedback or anything to Gillian and Tom, please feel free.
I think this was a great idea, especially for someone like me, who's like new to the area, trying to figure out which meetups are geared towards what. I think the idea of sharing the origin story was a fun way of getting to know the community a bit better. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Raj.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Thanks, and I'm especially glad to hear that I'm not the only one who had a meeting of size 3.
I miss you guys.
Aww.
So this was good. Yeah, I think I echo what everybody's feeling as well. Like there's so much sharing and learning that we're all doing, and so staying healthy as a community is important this way. So I loved seeing the pictures you shared of those sessions where we're together, Gillian. I recognize some of the people. In fact, we're working with one of the Scrum Masters is in one of the pictures. I said, oh,
Right?
he went to those. Yeah, so
that was super fun. I'm glad to have been able to share those.
Mm-hmm.
We were young. You see a picture of Shaheen with no beard. That's rare to see.
Oh, let's go take a look again.
That's a good memory.
There's a pre-beard and post-beard, Shaheen.
Oh yeah, you have the post beard and pre beard as well. So in the name.
Okay, that's post-beard, and then the next.
When we were celebrating, if you go down.
Oh yeah! Oh, there it is.
Next to Duncan, yeah.
I did not recognize you there, Shaheen. Oh my God.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining. If you do have time and would like to stay and network to grow this network, grow this community, please feel free to stay. And we are gonna shortly, we're gonna put you guys in breakout rooms. And I think we will have 3 people in breakout rooms.
So yeah, the official meetup has ended. Like we have heard Gillian and Tom, but we have tried this before that we had a networking event. So if you guys have time, you want to network and get to know people more, we are going to get into kind of like breakout rooms, and in a more intimate way of knowing others, we can get to network with others.
I unfortunately have to drop off, but thank you so much for organizing this. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Bye.